"Look, father, I brought a little lamb for the stew." The old Draugr, whose name was Ivar Long-Tooth, dropped his bone knife. He looked at Astrid with eyes like milky glass, hunger drooling from his cracked lips. He did not wait for the pot, but lunged at the child, jaws snapping. His skin was tight against his skull, preserved by the freezing cold of centuries. But before his teeth could tear her throat, the hag pulled him back. "Stop, you old fool. Remember the last time," Ivar hissed, swiping at the air with clawed hands. "I want the blood warm. I want the heart while it beats. And you will break your teeth again," the hag scolded, pushing him onto a rock. "Your teeth are brittle as winter ice. You cannot chew raw bone anymore," Ivar grumbled, touching his jaw where a tooth was missing. "Then what, daughter? My belly is a hollow pit. Let me boil her," the hag said, her voice scratching like dry leaves. "The hot water will soften the meat, and the marrow will suck out easily." Ivar nodded, his anger fading into greedy anticipation. "Hurry then, the hunger gnaws at my spine like a rat. I will hurry, father." Outside the main chamber, the hag dragged a massive iron cauldron to the fire pit. She filled it with snow and blocks of ice, waiting for the heat to melt them while she worked. She watched the small girls sitting on the stone floor. Astrid did not cry. She did not beg. She sat with her hands folded. The hag had hunted many humans, warriors, wives, and children. Usually, they screamed. They prayed to Thor, or they wet themselves in fear. But this one, this child of the cripple, was silent as a stone. "Why are you so quiet, little morsel?" the hag asked. "Curious, are you frozen with fear, or just stupid?" Astrid looked up, her dark face calm in the flickering light. "My father says fear is for the weak, and I am a daughter of the North." The hag paused, a flicker of respect in her dead eyes. "You have a warrior's spirit. It is a shame it will end in a soup. You should be afraid," Astrid said, her voice steady. "Not me." The hag laughed, a sound like ice cracking on a lake. "And why should I be afraid, little lamb? Because my papa sent thunder, and the fire lady will come." "The fire lady," the hag sneered, dismissing the child's words as fantasy. "She will burn you," Astrid whispered. Closing her eyes, the hag shook her head. Reaching into the folds of her rotten dress, she pulled out a small vial carved from a hollowed antler. Inside was a liquid clear as gin, but smelling of poppies and death. "Drink this," she ordered, gripping Astrid's jaw. "What is it?" Astrid asked, trying to turn her face away. "It is the Mead of Slumber. It will make you sleep while you cook. I do not want it. Do not be a fool. It is a mercy," the hag said, pouring it down her throat. Astrid coughed, sputtering as the liquid burned its way down. "There. Now you will feel no pain when the water takes you." Astrid slumped against the wall, her eyelids growing heavy. "The fire lady is coming," she mumbled. Before darkness took her, the hag looked at the sleeping child and felt a strange pang in her chest. It was the echo of a mother's instinct. dead for 100 years, if her father were not so hungry. She might have kept the girl as a pet, but the water in the cauldron began to bubble, rolling with heat. It was time to butcher the meat and feed the hunger. The hag did not need a knife. Her fingernails were long and sharp as obsidian. She approached the sleeping girl, raising her hand to slash the throat. She aimed for the jugular, to drain the blood into the pot. But just as her claws touched the skin, she heard a sound. It was a sharp scrape, stone grinding against stone near the entrance. The hag froze, her head snapping toward the tunnel. She sniffed the air, but smelled only sulfur and snow. "Is that you, father?" she called out. "Are you impatient again?" There was no answer, only the whistling of the wind. She shrugged, deciding it was just a falling rock, and turned back to the girl. She lifted Astrid's limp body, preparing to drop her into the boiling water. But when she turned around, her father was standing at the cave mouth. He looked confused, squinting into the gloom. "Daughter, why is the meat not cooking?" The hag sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. She walked toward him, but as she moved, her face began to change. Her grey skin flushed with colour. Her dead eyes turned hazel and bright. The smell of rot vanished, replaced by the scent of pine and burning wood. "The meat is not for you, old man," she said, her voice changing. "The meat is poison." Ivar stared, his mind too slow to understand the trick. "Who are you?" Signy dropped the illusion, revealing her true form, holding a dagger of fire. "I am the indigestion that will kill you." Signy did not wait for the old Draugr to understand. She moved like a striking viper. She drove her hand forward, fingers stiff and glowing with white-hot heat. Her hand punched through his rotten leather armor and sank deep into his chest. Ivar Long-Tooth gasped, his eyes bulging as the fire consumed his withered heart. He tried to scream, but only smoke poured from his mouth. Signy pulled her hand back, and the old corpse crumbled into a pile of ash and bone. She wasted no time. Turning to the sleeping child, she scooped Astrid into her arms, preparing to dissolve into smoke and flee the mountain. But the magic did not come. The fire within her sputtered and died. She tried again, focusing her will, but her feet remained rooted to the cold stone. She looked back and saw the hag standing in the tunnel. The hag's eyes were wide, unblinking, fixed upon Signy with a paralyzing stare. Signy cursed, remembering the old weakness of her clan. The Firekin cannot shift their forms, while the eyes of the dead are watching, and the Draugr in their eternal vigil never need to blink. Signy shifted Astrid's weight, drawing a sword of flame from the air. "If I cannot vanish, I will carve a path." She took a step forward, but stopped as shadows detached themselves from the walls. They came from every fissure and crack. A dozen more Draugr. Some held rusted axes, others wielded clubs of petrified wood. They hissed and clicked their teeth, surrounding the elf and the child. Signy tightened her grip on the flamizord, her breath misting in the freezing air. Suddenly, a hush fell over the horde. the circle of monsters parted, making way for a figure limping from the dark. It was an ancient female, bent double like a wind-twisted birch. One of her legs was human bone, the other was the hoof of a horse. This was Helga the Bent, the matriarch of the corpse-eaters. She stopped before Signy, sniffing the air with a nose missing its tip. "Which clan of the hidden folk are you, intruder?" Signy remained silent, the fire in her sword flaring brighter. "Speak," Helga croaked, "or I will tear the tongue from your head. My clan is none of your concern, carrion." Helga smiled, revealing gums black with rot. "I smell sulfur, and I feel the heat of the volcano." She stepped closer, her dead eyes narrowing. "You are spoken of the Ironwood." Signy did not answer, but her silence was confession enough. "Whose whelp are you? Are you Brand Risget?" At the mention of Branda, a ripple of fear went through the Draugr horde. They knew the Jarl of Fire, and they knew his wrath could melt their mountain. Helga hissed, waving a clawed hand at the tunnel. "Go, leave this place, and never return." "I am leaving," Signy said. "But the child comes with me," the horde growled. Stepping closer, their hunger overcoming their fear. Helga saw the bloodlust in her kin, and knew she could not deny them everything. "No, the human brat stays. She leaves with me, or I burn this mountain to the roots. You are outnumbered, little spark, and your magic is weak here." Helga pointed a crooked finger at the pile of ash that was once Ivar. "You killed one of us. Blood demands blood." 3 massive Draugr warriors lunged forward, grabbing Signy's arms. They were strong, with the unnatural strength of the grave. They pinned her wings of fire, forcing her to her knees. Helga took Astrid from her, holding the sleeping girl up like a trophy. The girl's blood pays for Ivar's, blood for blood. She repeated it, a chant that the horde took up in a frenzy. "Blood for blood, blood for blood," Signy struggled, pulling against the iron grip of the warriors, but she was held fast. Helga raised a jagged knife of obsidian, aiming for Astrid's throat. Signy watched, helpless. As the blade began to descend, she closed her eyes and screamed. She screamed not with her voice, but with her soul.